إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه ومن سار على سبيله إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. Continuing with Manhaj as-salikeen, we're on the book of zakat. We're starting the kitaab of zakat today, the chapter of zakat. I mentioned az-zakat faridatun is an obligation, and it's two types. Zakatul mal wa zakatul badan. As for zakatul mal, then it's تعبد الله تعالى بإخراج جزء واجب شرعا في مال معين لطائفة أو جهة مخصوصة. That means it's worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by taking out a obliged portion of wealth, a specific wealth, for a specific people or direction that is to be paid in, or cause, for specific people or a specific cause. And as we know, it's the third pillar of Islam. And zakat itself, it is of, this zakatul mal is of four types. And naqdain, that which is done by the two types of money, which is gold and silver, al-dhahab wal-fidda. وَمَا يَقُومُ مَقَامَهُمَا مِنْ عُمَلَاتٍ وَغَيْرِهَا, and that which also takes its place from the different currencies, and other than that. فَنِصَابُ الذهب, the threshold of gold is 85 grams. وَنِصَابُ الفضة is 595 grams. Of the things to be aware of, at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, those two measurements would have been equal in value. So the 85 grams of gold would have been the same value as 595 grams of silver at the time of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. However, today we know there's a major difference between these two values. So the 85 grams of gold is going to be near enough 4,000 pounds, whereas the 595 grams of silver is a few hundred pounds. Okay. The second part of zakat al-mal is as-saima, and this is regarding camels, cows, and sheep. And from sheep is goats, all of that comes underneath the same bab. يعني بهيمة الأنعام. Thirdly, الخارج من الأرض وهو الحبوب والثمار, that which comes from the earth, and that is grains and dry fruits. Then we have, lastly, عروض التجارة, the stock of business stock. And he mentions عروض التجارة على يعني هي كل ما أعد للبيع والشراء, everything that is prepared for buying and selling. The second type of zakat is zakat badal, and that is zakat al-fitr. And that is an obligation upon every Muslim, old, young, male, female, slave or free. Everyone has to pay zakat al-fitr. Also, you have a nafila, that which is done voluntarily. فهي كل مال يخرجه الإنسان على وجه التعبد المحض. It mentions the nafila voluntary is every wealth that a person takes out or he takes out to spend purely as an act of worship. Purely as an act of worship. One of the things mentioned, as we said, is واجبة على كل مسلم بالكتاب والسنة والإجماع. Also, لا تجب على الكافر بالإجماع. A thing that's mentioned by consensus that is not obligatory upon the kafir to pay zakat. Of the thing that is important, it mentions this is fiqh. Of the thing that it mentions regarding the kafir, لا تجب عليه وجوب أداء. It's not obligatory for him to pay zakat. The obligation of paying it. ولا تقبل منه لو دفعها. And it will not be accepted from him even if they paid it. Why? Because it's تقرب إلى الله. It's a means of getting closest to Allah. الطاعة وليس للكافر القرب. The kafir doesn't have this. They don't get close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. ولكنها تجب عليه وجوب الخطاب. However, it is obligatory by way of the obligation of being addressed by the Sharia, because it's upon everyone to pay zakat. وجوب الخطاب. الخطاب للجميع. The address from Allah is for all of mankind. Now the issue here is based on if they don't pay it, first of all, if they don't embrace Islam and they also don't pay zakat, they will also be punished for the fact they didn't pay zakat, as well as not embracing Islam. What's the evidence for this? In Surah Al-Mubtasim, ما سلككم في سقر. What led you to the hellfire? قالوا لم نكن من المصلين. We weren't from those who prayed. ولم نكن نطعم المسكين. We never used to feed the poor. وهذا من الزكاة. نعم. وكنا نخوض مع الخائضين. We used to spend time with idle speech with those who spoke idly. وكنا نكذب بيوم الدين. And we used to reject the hereafter. فكفروا كفروا اعتقاديا وعمليا. They disbelieved by way of belief and by way of action. Now, also, the evidence of the zakat not being accepted, وَمَا مَنَعَهُمْ أَن تُقْبَلَ مِنْهُمْ نَفَقَاتُهُمْ إِلَّا أَنَّهُمْ كَفَرُوا بِاللَّهِ وَبِرَسُولِهِ. In Surah Al-Bara, Surah Al-Tawbah, Ayah 54. I'm not taking questions on zakat, i.e. what you should do. I'm not a mufti. Go back to someone, inshallah ta'ala, of knowledge, what you should do, if you got credit and stuff. We're just studying the bab of zakat, and we just started now. Okay. So, now, it was what prevented them from their charity being accepted from them, except that they disbelieved in Allah and His Messenger. So the kafir is not accepted from them. No action that they do is accepted from them. As you find, the conditions of all acts of worship is Islam. From the conditions is Islam. So it mentions here, هي واجبة على كل مسلم حر ملك نصابا. It's obligation on every Muslim who is free, that has reached the threshold, which we'll come to mention in this time. Okay. ولا زكاة في مال حتى يحول عليه الحول وهو سنة هجرية. There's no zakat in wealth except that the year has passed and that money's been there for the whole year, and that's the Islamic year. Except al-kharij min al-ard, except for that which comes out of the earth, which is grains and dry fruits. وَمَا كَانَ تَابِعًا لِلْأَصْلِ, and whatever follows the asl. نَمَاء النِّصَابِ وَرِبْحِ التِّجَارَةِ فَإِنَّ حَوْلَهُمَا حَوْلَ أَصْلِهِمَا. This is, for example, if a person has more, gains more, adds more savings to the threshold, or more profits from their business, then the year, it still goes back to the original time the year started. So you won't have two times. You won't say, okay, but this time I had the wealth. 6 months later, I added more savings, so I have this time that I calculate, and then 6 months time that I calculate that. It's all calculated to the original time of when you had the threshold, the original time you had met the threshold. Okay. And لا تجب الزكاة إلا في أربعة أنواع. It's not an obligation to pay zakat except for in 4 things, and that is بهيمة الأنعام, which is the camels, cows and goats and sheep basically. Al-kharij min al-ard, grains and dry fruits. Wal-athman, which is currencies based upon gold and silver and whatever takes their place. Because the asl of currencies that they were all measured according to gold in its asl, and things changed obviously. So whatever takes their place, the rules will also apply to that. And then urud al-tijara, the stock that a person has for business. Now, as for az-zakat fi bahimatul an'am, within the animals, of the things that we have that a Muslim pays attention to, is based on the hadith of Anas أن أبا بكر رضي عنه كتب له هذه فريضة الصدقة التي فرضها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم على المسلمين والتي أمر الله بها رسوله. Abu Bakr رضي عنه, he wrote to Anas ibn Malik رضي عنه, this is the obligatory sadaqah that the Messenger of Allah والسلام, has obliged upon the Muslims, and that which Allah commanded His Messenger. And he mentions في 24 من الإبل فما دونها من الغنم في كل 5 شاة. So he mentions here in 24 camels, and then what is other than it from sheep, in every 5 is 1 sheep. So فإذا بلغت 25 إلى 35 ففيها بنت مخاض أنثى فإن لم تكن فابن لبون ذكر. So it mentions if it reaches 25 to 35 camels, فَفِيهَا بِنْتُ الْمَخَاض. I'm going to tell you what these terms are referring to, because these are names of the different types of ibn. So bintul makhad, this is ما تم لها سنة لأن أمها تكون حاملا. Bintul makhad, that is which has reached 1 year, that which is 1 year old of the camel, and that is because his mother is pregnant, تكون حاملا. Also, it's a bintul makhad, and it's a she camel that is referring to. If you don't have one, then it's ibnul labun. Ibnul labun is that which is 2 years old. Now, and it's a male camel, but it's 2 years old, and his mother bears milk. That's why it's called ibnul labun. فإذا بلغت 36 إلى 45, if you reach 36 to 45 camels, ففيها بنت لبون أنثى. There's going to be bintul labun, which is going to be a she camel that's 2 years old, that his mother has milk. فإذا بلغت 46 إلى 60, if you go from 46 to 60, ففيها حقة طروقة الجمل. It mentions you have حقة. If it's between 46 and 60, حقة, it mentions this is that which is 3 years old. That which is 3 years old. فإذا بلغت 61 إلى 75, from 61 to 75, ففيها جذعة. جذعة, that it mentions that is ما تم لها 4 سنين. And that is because at that age, where the milk comes from of the camel, I don't know what you call it. There's a specific name for it. Where you pump the milk from. Others. That's it. Allah understand. They show. They come out and they show. They start to fall at that age. Now, also on Instagram. Now, Sheikh.
Could you elaborate on more about obligatory sadaqah? I heard you say obligatory sadaqah.
Yeah, we've been mentioning that. That was the types of zakat.
Yes.
No.
And then you mentioned the obligatory one.
Yes, we're only talking about the first one at the moment,
Oh,
which is the animal.
I missed it.
No, this is the first one is the camels, cows, and
No.
no, right. So if you have 76 to 90, ففيها بنتا لبون, then it's 2 she camels that are 2 years old. And if you have 90 91 until 120, ففيها حقتان طروقة الجمل, you have 2 camels that are 3 years old. And then you have anything that is above 120, في كل 40 بنت لبون. Anything over 120, in every 40 you have bintul labun, which is the she camel that is 2 years old. And in every 50 camels, hiqqatun, the she camel that is 3 years old. And whoever doesn't have more than, or whoever only has 4 camels, then there's no sadaqah. No, except that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills for them. So if you have 5 camels, then you have 1 sheep of sadaqah. For every 5, there's 1 sheep. But when you reach 25, 24, it changes as you come to see. It's different. But less than that, from 24 under, from 24 camels and under, for every 5 is 1 sheep. واضح? Now when it comes to the ghanam, the sheep, and this includes al-dha'n wal-ma'iz, this is the goat as well. Now, then if you have 40 to 120, then it's 1 sheep. إذا زادت على 20 و100 إلى 200 ففيها شاتان. If you have more than 120 up until 200, then it's 2 sheep. And if you have more than 200 to 300, then it's 3 sheep. And whatever's above 300, and in every 100 is a sheep. So you can see how easy zakat is. So the person refuses to pay this, Allah musta'an. If they have less than 40 sheep, then there's no sadaqah upon that person. وَلَا يُجْمَعُ بَيْنَ مُتَفَرِّقٍ. And you don't combine between the different things. You don't say I got 20 camels, or 4 camels and 100 sheep. I'm going to combine them together. It doesn't work like that. It's separate. No. And you don't differ between that which is possible to be combined, such as the sheep, the goats, out of fear of paying sadaqah. Oh, the thing is also mentioned that which لا يخرج في الصدقة حرمة الكبيرة التي سقطت أسنانها. You don't give in sadaqah that which is old, that's lost its teeth, nor that عوار, that which has an ailment or a sickness. No. It mentions وفي الرقة. الرقة بمعنى الفضة. So he didn't mention cows here. It doesn't mention it in this book, so I mentioned it from another book. With the cows, then there's no zakat until it reaches 30. And once it reaches 30, then you have to give 1 cow, which is going to be the cow that is 1 year old, a calf. But if it is 40 cows, then you give 1 which is called Musinna, that which has 2 years old. If it is 60, then you give 2 calves that are 1 year old. And if it's 70, then you give 1 calf that's 1 year old and 1 that is 2 years old. Okay. And then in every 30, there is 1 calf that's 1 year old, and every 40, one that is 2 years old. So that's related to the cow. No. So there's a number of things that I mentioned in sadaqah. Also, what's mentioned when it comes to silver now, in every 200 dirham, rubul ashr, which is 2.5%. فإن لم يكن إلا 90 فليس فيها صدقة إلا أن يشاء ربها. If it's less than 200, like 190, then there's no sadaqah in that, in terms of dirham. ومن بلغت عنده من الإبل صدقة الجذعة وليست عنده جذعة وعنده حقة فإنها تقبل منه الحقة ويجعل معها شاتين إن استيسرتا له أو 20 درهما. If a person reaches the amount of camels that they have to give a jad'a, and the jad'a is one that we said is 4 years old, and they don't have a jad'a, they don't have a camel that's 4 years old, a she camel that's 4 years old, then what do? They give one that is 3 years old and 2 sheep. If they don't have 2 sheep, then they give 20 dirham. 20 dirham. As for the one who reaches the level of giving a camel that is 3 years old and doesn't have that type of camel, and they have a jad'a, then they give the jad'a and they are given back 20 dirham or 2 sheep, based on hadith in Bukhari. And it mentions here in the hadith of Mu'adh, أمره أن يأخذ من كل 30 بقرة تبيعا أو تبيعة ومن كل 40 مسنة. So it does mention the cow briefly here, and that's the only part it mentions about the cow, that the Prophet commanded him to take in every 30 cows تبيعا أو تبيعة. That's the male or female calf that is 1 year old, and in 40, one that is 2 years old, al-musinna. Now, أما صدقة الأثمان فقد تقدم أنه ليس فيها شيء حتى تبلغ 200 درهم وفيها ربع العشر. So as for the gold and silver as mentioned, then what's preceded is that it's not obligatory to pay zakat until it reaches the equivalent of 200 dirham, and in that is going to be 2.5%. Now, of the things that we'll mention, inshallah, next lesson is which commodity was discussed between the scholars of fiqh of measuring the currencies, or you have according to silver or to gold. We'll mention that discussion next lesson, inshallah ta'ala. As for that which comes out of the earth, which is grains and dry fruits, it has to be that which can be stored and weighed. Then the Prophet mentioned, ليس فيما دون 5 أوسق من التمر صدقة متفق عليه. So this is on the basis that when it comes to what comes out of the earth, then there's anything less than 5 awsuq, which is equivalent to 300 sa' of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu anything less than that, then there's no sadaqah. But as for that which has been irrigated from the rain and the uyun, which is the springs, أو كان أثريا العشر, then it has a tenth. وفيما سقي بالنضح نصف عشر, and in that which has been irrigated, then it's half of a tenth, which is 1/20. Right? My maths is still there. Allah musta'an. Do you know how long maths you don't use it? GCSE, you say, alhamdulillah, I'm finished. Allah musta'an. I had anxiety that, do you know how long I was reading this, just now looking at calculating. Don't say 1/5, because it's definitely not that. It'll be 2/10. 1/5, right? Alhamdulillah. Fractions on deck. Alhamdulillah. Naam. And that is based on what is recorded by Bukhari. Naam. And Sahal ibn Abi Hathama. So, of the thing that's mentioned also, when it comes to the stock, business stock, everything that is prepared for buying and selling for the sake of profit, then is according to the value of gold or silver. Now, they say that even though silver is much less, that you should still give the zakat if it reaches the nisab of silver, because the objective is to give to the poor and the needy. So that's in the best interest of the poor and the needy. So when a person has, let's say I'm starting a business, I have all my stock, and the stock that I have is of the value of the threshold. It reaches the threshold of the value of zakat. So that year starts from then. Let's say it started Ramadan, I open this business. When the next Ramadan comes, I have that, and I have profits now. I pay zakat on all of it. No.
And also, when you pay on the stock, do you pay on the actual value that you paid for, or the value you can sell it for?
The value that it is.
The value that you paid for?
Yeah, the value that it is.
Okay.
Now, so what's it worth? What's its actual worth? And it's based on what you paid for it, obviously.
Yeah.
Whatever you sell it for, that's profits.
Yep.
No, but its actual value, like, you have a market value. So when you buy a car, for example, the car, a person will look at a car and says market value might be 6,000. They're still going to pay 10,000 for the car. Now, but in general, the market value of that car is not 10,000. That's the asking price for the person selling it. No. Also, the thing that's mentioned, if a person has a debt and money that is not hoped for, that it will not come back to them, then there's no zakat in that money. But as for the one so for example, let's say I gave someone a loan and it's like really highly unlikely I'm going to get that money back, then there's no zakat in that money. But if I get that money, I pay zakat in the year that I got that money back, just one time for that money. Okay. Otherwise, if it's a loan, but it's likely I'm going to get paid that money back, I still have to pay zakat, not the one who has taken the loan. I pay zakat on that money also. No. Also, you take from the balance of the wealth. You don't give the worst of things that you wouldn't like for yourself. No. So it's not taken from the thing that is not really liked, nor is it taken from the best of a person's wealth, rather from the middle of that. No. So we'll stop there, inshallah. Next lesson we'll start talking about zakat al-fitr, but we also mentioned the discussion on which of the two currencies do you base your zakat on, inshallah ta'ala. And we'll mention what the scholars have said about it, inshallah ta'ala, without giving a personal opinion, and a person tries their best to fear Allah and does what they feel is best. But of the thing that they do encourage is that a person look at the best interest for the poor and the needy, not themselves. There's only 2.5%. And it's based on your savings, not on your salary. Some people, they pay zakat on their salary. Every month they get paid, they're given 2.5. No, this is not correct. So you have for the year. Now. No, sir.
When we go back to the animals, camels and sheep and whatever, and I wanted you to elaborate on who give it to us now.
No, zakat is zakat.
Huh?
Zakat is
No,
zakat.
it's sadaqah.
Yeah, no, but we're not talking about sadaqah, we're talking about zakat. Sadaqah is you give to anyone.
So that's what I'm saying. That
But that's going to come who is the people of zakat.
for example, you find in areas where there are cattle what do you call them?
Herders.
Herders. You find the area is belong to them, like in the country in Uganda. You find western side, all of them families are cattle what? Now, each one, for example, has to give. Who do they give it to now? Because all of them need like 100.
No, but zakat is given to specific people.
No, not zakat. I'm talking about sadaqah now.
No, but sadaqah you give to anyone.
So you
Sadaqah
just
is
choose.
open.
You choose who to give your.
Yeah, sadaqah is sadaqah. We're not talking about sadaqah, we're talking about zakat that is wajib. Sadaqah is voluntary. There's a difference. We're talking about zakat that is wajib, the obligation that you have to pay. As for the sadaqah which is voluntary, a person gives it to whoever they want. No.
Give it to your neighbor and whatever.
Yeah. But as for zakat,
I noticed.
there are specific people that
Oh, yes.
you have to give it to. No. But inshallah, one thing to point out as well, when we're studying this now, it's not for us to go into detail. We're only studying it as a beginning book on fiqh to get an idea of the things that are discussed. So when we study again, the aim, this is what we're planning to do inshallah. We'll do fiqh of ibadat from here, and then we'll do fiqh of ibadat from hadith, from Umdat al-Ahkam. And you see the difference of the different methodology of study, of going from a book of madhab fiqhi and a book of hadith, deriving the rulings from there, inshallah. But then again, you'll go back to another book on fiqh to go into greater details. But the first objective is a tasawwur al-masail, to have a general idea of what are the topics that are discussed. Now, barakallahu feekum. And we stop here inshallah, and see you guys tomorrow inshallah. As a reminder, no class on Tuesday inshallah. Now, barakallahu feekum wa sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum.